Tell me you have a fake best friend without telling me you have one. Okay, I'll go first. So my best friend name was Natalie. We've been best friends since elementary school. But when we got to high school, she completely changed on me. Let me first tell you how it all started. First, it started off subtle. I was never the popular girl. I never had a lot of friends, and I was shy. Natalie used to be like me until she went through puberty, and out of nowhere, she got pretty. Yes, she glowed up, and while I remained hideous. Once she cleared her acne and took her braces off, she started to get a lot of attention from boys because they liked her, and from girls who wanted to be her friend now. Like the same girls that bullied us in middle school wanted to be Natalie's friend now. And guess what? She accepted them. This is how it all started because she wanted to now hang out with the girls that made fun of me. Like if you call yourself my friend, then my enemies should be your enemies too, right? But no, she started to hang with them at lunch, so I no longer wanted to sit with her because all the other girls did at lunch was talk about boys. They were being boy crazy, and I didn't want to spend my lunch having to hear them gossip and drool over boys. So every day I would spend my lunch outside watching the ROTC team practice drills. The second reason we grew apart was because she started to act fake around her new friends. She would agree with everything they said just to fit in, like the girls loved Taylor Swift, and she would pretend that she liked Taylor Swift. And I knew for a fact that she didn't. She used to say that her music was corny. But in front of her new friends, she pretended to like things that she didn't. So fake, right? So one day, I decided to confront her in front of her new friends. I asked her in front of them, "Who's your favorite artist?" And she said, "Taylor Swift." I said, "I thought you hated Taylor Swift." And she said, "I never said that." Then I pulled out my phone and showed them text messages of her saying how she disliked Taylor's music. And then she looked at me and said, "I might have felt like that back then, but I've changed. I like her now." And I was like, "You're right. You have changed," and walked away. I know you're thinking I'm being petty for putting her on blast like that, but I was just tired of her being fake. So yeah, we're no longer friends.
Story time about how I was stalked by what I honestly believe was a serial killer. In 2020, this guy moved into my apartment complex down the hall from me. My first encounter with this guy was in the hallways on his move-in day. He looked at me, and the first thing he ever said to me was, "Are you scared of me?" I thought that seemed a little strange, but then I realized that he was moving in to my guy best friend's apartment. So I texted my guy best friend and I was like, "Yo, your new roommate seems a little bit weird. Be careful." The following days, I keep finding this man everywhere I'm going. He was in the elevator with me. We got out of the elevator at the same time. I doubled back to make sure no one was following me. And he, at the exact same time, peeked out from behind the wall he was hiding behind. We made eye contact. And he laughed this evil demonic laugh, and he found out which apartment was mine. I was like, oh my gosh, like what should I do? I did call the police, but the police wouldn't take me seriously. I go over to my guy best friend's apartment, and obviously the stalker and him are sharing the same apartment unit. While I'm hanging out with him and a bunch of other guy friends, the stalker dude starts pacing back and forth through the apartment with an axe on his shoulder and a helmet. Just pacing, not saying a word to anyone, just pacing back and forth with an axe. He then proceeds to block the door like this. This guy's 19 years old and he's ripped on steroids. This guy couldn't even walk normal because of his muscle mass, and he's standing blocking the door so that no one could come in and no one could come out of the apartment unit. The guy eventually leaves the apartment, but he comes back, and when he comes back, he's extremely pissed off, goes into his room and is throwing things around. He comes out, and the dog who was living in the apartment starts growling. This dog loved people, but it could sense a very demonic energy. I look up at the stalker dude to see why the dog is growling. This guy had the most demonic glow to his eyes I have ever seen. I cannot describe it. All I knew is that I saw evil and darkness, and in that moment, I was terrified. All of my guy friends were actually playing video games, so they weren't really paying attention to what was going on. Once I got their attention, I told them that it's not safe here, we have to go. And they didn't know what I was talking about, but I told them I was leaving, and I got up and I left. Some of my guy friends followed me though. When I got out of that apartment, I bawled my eyes out, and they were like, "Cece, what happened? Like, why are you upset? Like, we were just hanging, like, I don't understand." So I told them exactly what I saw. My guy friends that stayed back tried to talk to him and see why he was angry, and this is what the stalker boy said. He told them that he had a god complex and he had come to the earth to purify the unclean. I ran out of time, but part 2 is already posted. Anyway, so my guy friends are sitting down with him, and he tells them that he has a godlike complex and that he's come to cleanse the earth, okay? He also then proceeds to tell my guy friends that he thinks about chopping up people's body parts and stowing them away. He is saying the most demonic, out-of-pocket stuff with a dead serious face, like it's not a joke to him and he's not trying to be funny. It was at this moment that my guy friends were a little bit concerned and they started to take me serious on what I was saying. I didn't stay in my apartment for about 2 weeks and I contacted the office the next morning and told them all the information about him pacing back and forth with an axe and about him telling us he's thinking about chopping up people's body parts and stowing them away. I told that to the office and they were like, well, he hasn't done anything yet, so we don't take it seriously. One day while I was over at the apartment complex gathering my clothes to go spend the night somewhere else, he shows up at my door pounding on my door. Luckily, my guy friends were over. I ran into my bedroom and I said, it's him. And they were like, how do you know? And I was like, I can feel it. And guess what? It was him. And I called the police and the police told him to stop harassing me and leave him alone. But the police, once again, were not taking me seriously. This was the second time I had contacted them about how I'm being threatened for my safety. And they didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't take it seriously. Even though the apartment complex said they had videos of him walking the halls with his axe, they still wouldn't take me seriously. And neither would the police. Until Stalker Boy stalked 2 girls home from the bar one night. And then he chased them down the halls of the apartment complex with a knife. The police were called, they swarmed the building, eventually caught him, and he went to jail for 24 hours. And then was released and got kicked out of the apartment complex, and I never saw him again. But the only thing he left behind was his axe and his helmet, which is really creepy.
Get ready with me while I tell you guys about some of the crazy stuff my class did in 8th grade. So this story obviously starts when we're in 8th grade, and just to let you guys know, like, this was towards the end of the year, and towards the end of the year at my school likes doing a bunch of pranks and stuff, but this incident wasn't really a prank. And also, my class has grown and matured a lot since this incident, so like, if you're offended by it, don't be, because there's no reason. So with my 8th grade year, our last hour of the day is history. So my entire class was in our history class. So this was around track season, and on this day, our history teacher wasn't there. So the track teacher, whose classroom was like across from the history teacher's classroom, was watching us. So the class was actually doing pretty good. Like, we were doing all of our work, and then there was this senior that our teacher like really trusted, and he wasn't watching us or anything, but it looked like he was, because he was in the room and he was like sitting at her desk or whatever. Now before I tell you guys what happened, let me give you a key like detail. So in the room by the teacher's desk, there was like a bucket of like paint, and they were like a good amount of paint, and I cannot even lie to you guys, not even 3 seconds later, all you hear is like someone screaming. And I turn around and there's literally white paint everywhere on like the back right side of the classroom. And you guys, like, when I say there was paint everywhere, there was literally paint everywhere, like on the wall, the floor, the desk, on this girl's Chromebook. The girl who screamed had a great reason. It was paint all over her Chromebook and like on her clothes. And then the paint splattered so much it even got to another classmate who was sitting at a desk, and it got all over his pants, so he ended up having to change pants. So like in this moment, I was just purely in shock, because I was like, everything was normal. I turned my head for 3 seconds, and then I turned back around and this happened.